welcome to Visions. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Reverend Stephen Evans, who is the former chairman of the Universal Peace Federation of New Zealand and is working in Australia. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in the Universal Peace Federation and your whole spiritual life?
My whole spiritual life. We have
in a few minutes.
25 minutes. Okay. Well, I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I was a Vietnam veteran. I'd come back from Nam, and I couldn't settle in school. It was a bit challenging for me at that time, and so I decided to do something kind of diametrically opposed to that, and I started selling women's shoes. And I was quite successful at that. I won the Oscar for Outstanding Sales my second year.
That's great.
Dubious honors maybe, but in any event, I put a lot of heart into that. And during the course of my tenure selling shoes, I began to have some spiritual experiences that were quite unique. Not having them before, I didn't know what to expect, but it seemed that there was a voice kind of asking me, like, what are you doing here? What are you about? We have some other plans for you. This kind of feeling was coming in the workplace most often. And finally I succumbed to that after one particular Saturday. It became very clear to me that I was being either pushed or pulled to do something else in my life, to focus my energies in a different place. And so I left that job, and I recall that one Saturday morning telling my boss, I've got to go, I don't know why or where, but I can't stay here anymore. And I walked out of the store and was walking across this beautiful park, and I recall clearly breaking a stick, a large stick I'd picked up in half, and tossing that down and thinking, gee, I can spend more time with Elaine and our young son Aaron, and because I've been so busy. And then I broke the stick again, and I realized that this is now time to kind of delve into what is happening to me spiritually, because I've never had anything quite unique and urging as this kind of pulling spiritually that I was experiencing. So I tossed the stick down the third time, and at that time I just hit my knees, and I really accepted Jesus into my life. And at that point, just tears flowed, and it was so cleansing, and I began to see things very differently in my life at that time. And I remember walking past a beautiful bed of flowers and looking and kind of taking on the olfactory experience of smelling the flowers, and the voice came to me saying, or asking, why do you think I created flowers? And I'm thinking about this, and the voice said, well, it's a testimony of my love for you, for my children. And these are the kinds of things that were happening to me. And of course, it was a radical transformation for me. I quit smoking and drinking and whatnot, you know, at that time in my life. And my wife was kind of reeling because Steve got God, and now he's changing on me. It's not the guy I married, and that became a bit of a challenge for her. But for me, I began to look in churches and synagogues and mosques and ashrams and temples to find people like myself, because I had never met anybody like me, if you will. And so I had a spiritual rebirth with Jesus at that time in my life. And I kind of started out in our family, if you would, ecumenistically, because my father is Catholic, my mother was Mormon, and so we had this challenge, if you will, in our family with different faiths as we grew up. But I really felt...
and there was harmony between them?
There was great harmony.
Yeah.
I mean, now they're 55 years in marriage.
Beautiful.
Yes, and I think my folks are better than I am in so many wonderful ways. They're a member of the greatest generation, as Tom Brokaw wrote in his book. So in any event, that was the beginning of my search. And I, particularly one day, was in downtown Portland, and I had just left the University of Metaphysics, talking with Dr. Carey Arthur at that time, and I said, thank you so much for sharing with me the intellect of Jesus, but I really need to get in touch with the heart of Jesus. I need a deep heartistic relationship, because what's happened in my life is my heart has changed, not my mind. And so I need to find that. And we parted after a hug, and I walked 2 blocks, looked to my left, and there's this tall, handsome black man with his Cheshire grin standing in the corner, handing out tracts. I approached him, and I grabbed the tract, and it said, if you're searching for the meaning of life, please join us for an introduction to the unification movement in the YMCA. So I grabbed his sleeve, and I said, I know where it's at, let's go. So I went to this lecture talking about the parallels of history, and if in fact these three 2,000-year periods are correct, it would appear that maybe this is the time in which the Lord of the Second Advent is to appear on the earth. And I had many dreams and visions in the months in my search, and I also felt strongly that this is the time of the coming of Christ and that we need to prepare ourselves. That's why I felt that I had this experience. And I had not found in any of my searches prior the kind of people who I felt I could be comfortable with spiritually. And in the unification movement I did find these people. And based upon that, in a weekend workshop, I committed myself to further the work of the unification movement. Now this is of course founded by Reverend Moon, known colloquially as the Moonies.
Right.
And that was a bit challenge for my family. And as I was in the movement and began to read some of these things, I thought, gee, they can't be talking about us because I've never seen these kinds of things. But, you know, I could understand it because having had this kind of radical transformation in my life as a Christian, being reborn, as they say, I was very different in the past. And I know that my parents thought, well, he was an athlete in school, he was a guy who used to love cars and take out all the girls and whatnot, and all of a sudden now he's in the Bible. Now he's in the Bhagavad Gita, now he's in the Hebrew Scriptures. What's going on with this guy, you know? He must be going through some pain, or why is he looking for God? Because traditionally they think, well, if you're weak, you turn to God. But in fact, sometimes God turns to man to raise us up, to understand his heart, and to express his will for a world that's in need of his love. Consequently, I've been with the unification movement to one degree or another since 1974. And that was my personal testimony. It's somewhat truncated.
And you feel his love? Feel God's love in your
Deeply
life?
I feel God's love in my personal life.
Your own personal life.
And also in my family. I have a beautiful wife and now a 7-year-old daughter, Hannah Lay.
Oh, beautiful. All right, we're about to go to a break now.
Quick 7 minutes.
Yeah. You're watching Visions. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.